call this meeting of the Cleveland Heights University Heights City School District Board of Education to order. Mr. Gaynor.
Mr. Coble. Here. Ms. Pepler.
Here.
Mr. Register. Mr. Silverman.
Here.
Mr. Zucker.
Here.
Thank you. And Mr. Register's under the weather this evening and regrets that he can't join us here. So I wanted to let you know that. Could I have an approval for item A2, the minutes as listed?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Gaynor.
Mr. Coble.
Yes.
Ms. Pepler.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
And now on to the fun stuff, the awards and recognitions.
Okay, good evening, everyone,
Hello.
and welcome. I'd like to begin our meeting tonight by recognizing some Heights students who are outstanding examples of our new district mission at work, because they are each on their way to becoming responsible citizens and finding success in college and career. First, our National Merit Commended Scholars, seniors Graham Ball, Aviva Klein, and Hannah Smith placed among the top 5% of more than 1.5 million students who entered the 2016 competition. Students enter by taking the preliminary SAT and National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. All three students are involved in many extracurricular activities at Heights High and are planning to apply to top colleges and universities. Graham, Aviva, and Hannah, we're proud of your scholastic accomplishments and look forward to seeing where your ambitions take you in the future. Please come front and center to receive your certificates and take a photo with Board President Nancy Pepler and me. Let's give them applause.
Always.
Congratulations, guys.
Need to do the photo again. My apologies. I forgot to do it.
Oh, actual certificates.
Take two.
One more time.
Take two.
Your mom coming back.
Okay, next in our recognition, our very first Career Technical Education Student of the Month. Okay. Tapesh Sharma is a senior in the Clinical Health Careers Program. Tapesh was born in a refugee camp in Nepal and came to the United States a few years ago. He spoke very little English, and he says he was afraid that he wouldn't make it in this new country. But through hard work and with the help of the ELL teachers at Heights High, Tapesh is now thriving. He has been working at McDonald's for over a year, and his English skills have progressed so much that he now helps translate for others in his community. Tapesh decided to take clinical health careers so that he can help people. He plans to eventually become a registered nurse and then a physician's assistant. In his spare time, he enjoys travel, photography, and spending time with his family. Tapesh, you have overcome many obstacles and are truly a role model for your peers. Please come up front to receive your certificate and take a photo with Board President Nancy Pepler and me. Let's give him a hand.
Congratulations.
And continuing on this subject of career tech, We are also going to begin highlighting a different program each month. For November is Auto Engineering. Auto Engineering is one of the newest programs offered by the Tri-Heights Consortium. Students learn the skills they need to be successful in an entry-level position in the auto tech industry. Each student has an iMac computer and industry standard recording software. Students also use a full recording studio with professional instruments and microphones. Students who complete the 2-year program would have college credit at Cuyahoga Community College, where they can eventually earn an associate's degree. Others have enrolled in audio programs at Capital University and Ohio University. In the last few years, students have participated in covenant internships locally and even in Los Angeles. Some job opportunities in the auto field are live sound engineer, mastering engineer, composer, and producer. Graduates also find exciting work in recording, gaming, film, and broadcasting industries. We're proud to have this program available to our students. So we're going to do that every month and recognize those programs. So thank you, Mr. Callender, for bringing that to our attention. Any students in the program here tonight?
There was a change from the Monday to Tuesday change.
We lost our student, okay, but thank you. Okay, so finally tonight I'd like to recognize several students in our Options program who will be heading to London in a few months for an incredible opportunity. The Options Global Ambassadors Initiative was created to provide African American male students the opportunity to participate in a mind-broadening international experience. 3 Options students will travel to London for 7 days in February, where they will study at Evelyn Grace Academy. They will also participate in panel discussions and visit Stonehenge and Oxford University. The trip is largely funded through generous donations from community members and businesses. To be chosen for the trip, the young men needed to be in good academic standing, and of course, for graduation, demonstrate leadership qualities, serve as mentors in the Odyssey program, and of course, be willing to say yes to an extraordinary opportunity. This year's ambassadors are Nathan Jolly, Sharon Hodges, and Aaron Hemphill. Students, we're thrilled that you will be representing our community and our school in London. We wish you a safe, memorable, and fun experience. Please come to the front and be recognized and take a photo with our board president, Nancy Pepler, and me. Let's give these students a round of applause.
I'm way ahead.
Congratulations, guys. Yeah, exactly.
I think the young men just agreed to do a board presentation when they return from the trip, so thank you all.
That's
for
exactly what
that.
I heard.
Yes, yes. Thank you all for that opportunity. So to all of our students, thank you. This is what makes this work so meaningful and exciting when we see that students like you, Tepesh, who have come to this country with little English and now have excelled. That's extraordinary, and it says a lot about what our community offers and what our school does to help students like you, and to also to afford this opportunity for our students to travel abroad, and to our other students to be commended scholars. It shows that you've excelled academically, and we know that there's going to be some other opportunities, and we're going to hear some more about you. So thank you to all of our students. Let's give them one more round of applause. So this concludes our recognitions for the evening.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know we don't have any requested audience, and have a good evening, everybody.
Good night. Thanks. Congratulations again.
I understand. And nobody signed up for statements from the audience, but was there some confusion? Did somebody want to say something to us? No?
Nope.
Okay, just want to make sure,
Okay.
because there's a sign-up sheet outside. Okay. Thanks, Steve. So we're going to move on to item D1, the superintendent's report.
Okay.
Move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay. So we have the Heights High School students a promised field trip to Washington DC scheduled for November 5th through the 7th. So I'd like for approval for that field trip.
Can I have a motion to approve item D? Oh, we can take these together, all
Yes.
three of them together. Okay, you want to continue?
Okay, and then Heights High School girls varsity basketball team field trip to the Newark High School Holiday Basketball Tournament in Newark, New Jersey, December 27th through 28th. And Monticello Middle School students trip to Washington DC, scheduled from May 11th through the 13th.
Can I have a motion for those items?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Mr. Gaynor?
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
So I had one other quick item, I'm not sure if she put it on here. We had update provided regarding the data that we presented from, about our students in our gifted program.
Okay.
So we have Toya Robinson
Okay.
is here to provide this update on that data. Toya, will you come up, please? Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello.
Again, I'm Toya Robinson. And I just wanted to provide you with an update that I believe is in your folders. If you turn to the section of the graph that has the red bars.
It was actually in our weekly update. Yeah,
Put it in here, okay.
right, it
Okay.
wasn't in the, do you have extra copies?
I do not.
Yeah, it
Want some?
wasn't, it
Want
wasn't in
some?
our packet for this evening, it was in our weekly
Okay.
update.
You want yours? Okay.
Okay, I think that was nice.
Okay.
Would you like me to continue while he's copying? Or do you
Eric
want me
has
to?
his.
Yeah, that's okay, they're sharing
They're
for now.
sharing, okay.
Yeah.
Want me to share mine?
No, they're sharing.
Okay, on the side where it has the red graphs, you'll see, because we don't have data from 2012, 2013, because we didn't start really collecting data, especially for state report cards in this manner until Miss Bird started in her position, and I started as gifted coordinator here. So we start with 2013, 2014, and you see the levels of students that we have that are shown through our ethnic representation. And you see 26 Asian, 416 African American, 19 Hispanic, 0 Indian, 79 multiracial, 0 Pacific Islander, 504 white students, and the total is 1,044 in the year of 13-14. And then as you go down to 14-15, you see the totals, again, 22, 343 for African American, 15 Hispanic, 1 Indian, 72 multiracial, 0 Pacific Islander, and 432 for white students, with the total being 885. And then for this year, 15-16, and again, this data is fluid, it's ongoing, because we are still assessing students. We assess the students every day, so we won't get the totals for this to the end of the school year, but as of now, we have 13 Asian students, 268 African American students, 10 Hispanic, 1 Indian, 60 multiracial, 0 Pacific Islander, 373 white students, and a total of 725. These include students over the last few years that are currently in our program or currently in the district, and it includes those that have withdrawn. If you flip it over, though, because as you look at that, it seems as though we have students decrease. But if you flip over on the other side, you'll see that the percentages over the last 3 years have remained constant. So for 13, 14, 14, 15, and ongoing, the Asian population still remains at 2%. The African American population, anywhere between 37% and 40%. Hispanic population between 1 and 2%. Indian population 0. Multiracial population 8%. Pacific Islander 0%. And white population from 48 to 51%. And so even though we've lost students due to enrollment because of the increase in the criteria and how we're testing more students, we've been able to maintain the same percentages.
So-
Question about
Yes.
the percentages. Is it a percent of the total student body or the percent of each of the different groups? So
It is the percent of the total body.
you don't understand the question.
I have this similar question, but, so if I'm reading this correctly then, okay, African-American students, I've got, let's go with the 13, 14, 416 students are represented there, but then on this chart, it actually says percentage of students. What's the cohort that those percentage of students are of?
This
Of the
is
total,
gifted
Gifted
population, student
Right.
population.
Okay, so that,
Yes,
so that's.
not of the enrollment of the
Okay.
entire district, of
Okay.
the
So
gifted
basically,
population.
what one side is a percentage representation of the data that's on the other side of the chart.
Correct.
Okay. Then my question, I think you alluded to it, and I'm sure I've asked in the past, but we see for our overall gifted enrollments gone, or identification, from 1044 to 725. That's a 25% drop in the span of a couple of years. What is the cause of that decline? Is it because we're,
it's more than 25%.
We're losing enrollment.
But
We're-
we haven't
we're-
lost almost 30% of our students.
We lose,
3
if you
years.
look at enrollment, we lose a lot of our gifted students, particularly after the self-contained classes in fifth grade. I personally will have parents contact me and say, now my students are identified, and that's when they go to seek enrollment at private schools or after the gifted self-contained, because they don't stay here for our middle schools. There was a report at one point, I think, when Dr. Dixon just started, just within a span of, from the end of the school year to the beginning of the school year, we lost 45 gifted students.
but
Wouldn't that be filled by younger students coming in if,
Students are not identified. We don't test them until second grade, so we service them, and we just started servicing them in third. So not necessarily, because what we're doing is we have students leaving and we're identifying new students coming in.
But-
So it doesn't always
right, but we've
fill
lost
back up.
30%, it just,
Yeah.
anyway.
I would say
right,
at this,
it doesn't make-
at this
doesn't make
trend line
sense
in
to me.
3 years, we'll have 0 gifted students.
Right.
That's why I'm sort of, I mean, if that trend line continues, in 3 years, we'll have, no gifted kids. If I'm reading
No,
this trend line. I mean,
well,
that's-
we're actually getting, again, you can't look at 15, 16 because we've just started. And that data, like I said, is fluid. And so that changes on, that number could have changed by today already because we're identifying new students. We are losing gifted students, but we are also servicing and identifying more than we have in the past. And I'll give you an example. In our gifted self-contained classes in 13, 14, none of the self-contained classes were full. At Roxborough, for example, the fourth grade class had 13 to 14 students in there. The fifth grade wasn't full. At Boulevard, there were six or seven students in the fourth grade and 10 in the fifth grade. As of last year, we had a waiting list. At the beginning of this year, some students have moved and we have students coming in and out, but at the beginning, all the classes were full. We have a self-contained at Fairfax that is at 18, and we have both units at Boulevard and at Roxborough that were full at the beginning of the year with 20 students.
Well, you mentioned before, and I mentioned at our last meeting, I mean, do we have data that goes back more than 3 years? I mean, I'm curious to see,
That data wasn't collected before, and I don't know who was here before, they didn't leave it.
so we have no information in regard to gifted enrollment before 3 years ago.
We absolutely do, because we've looked at it for
Yeah, I mean,
years.
it's-
We absolutely
Not sure
have
who was
to.
tracking that data.
Yeah.
Right, I think
And
we
how
were
was
trying
it
to-
tracked?
differently.
we were trying to look at the changes that have come in since Toya came in.
Right, I
And looking
understand.
at those numbers in relationship to the identification. And what we're finding is that, efforts to expand identification are being offset by lost enrollment. And so what we have to figure out is how, despite that, we continue to, bend the curve a little bit and increase our identification of students of color and those kinds of things. So that even though we may be losing some of the enrollment and the number of identifications that go with those students, we're still able to serve more of our students in our younger grades. So we're trying to reverse that trend, but that's what explains a lot of the drop in numbers.
I understand, I appreciate, I'm very familiar, unfortunately, when it's sort of, when somebody comes in new, hey, where's the information before that? But I'm from a long-term standpoint, and I said a couple weeks before, I like to look at trends, 5, 10, 20-year trends. So I'd be very interested to see, even though I understand either recording methodologies, identification methodologies may change. That's an asterisk on a chart that says, hey, here's why things spike up or down. But I'd be very curious to see going back more than just the last few school years.
Right, okay.
And that would be something that we will look at. I believe Ms. Bird isn't here today, but because she is the data director, that we would work with her to see what data that she has.
That'd be great.
And if I could suggest, because I'm not sure for that to, maybe one of the things that you said was that identifications are up. This data isn't showing that.
Right.
And if it is, so maybe showing new identifications by year would help to, help us understand this at a deeper level, because then, and then I would love to hear, and we heard something on this several years ago, and I remember a pretty in-depth conversation about the efforts to identify more African American children and the different testing methods and I'd love to hear about that again, and because it's very troubling to me that, because I know a tiny bit about giftedness. I'm preaching the choir, I know, guys, but that 80% of our gifted enrollment are African American kids, because that's how it should be.
That's how it should be. Yes, that's a federal law, that it should match the
It
enrollment.
should match our enrollment as a district. And I know you guys are doing so much to try to help that, but it hurts my heart every time I see something like this.
And we definitely have the information on what we're doing to not only the African American population, but all underrepresented groups,
Yeah.
things that we've done. So that is definitely something that can be provided for you.
Thank you.
And maybe that data, when that study was done, with that group that worked with Dr. Ford? Was that
With Dr. Ford.
Provide that for the board? I mean, and I think that
Yeah,
kind
I
of.
think we saw
Yeah, I
some of
remember
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when that
Yeah.
report, and that kind of.
That was interesting.
Yeah,
Correct.
and it kind of talked about that test, and maybe just provide what the increase has been since that work.
And
that's good.
one thing that I can tell you that's addressing right now at the state operating standards are now under revision. They're supposed to be revised every 5 years. It's now been 7 years. So they're going with that now. And one of the struggles that is nationwide, but particularly in Ohio, because they tell you the reasons why you have underrepresented groups, because Ohio only looks at a test score to identify a child as gifted. They don't look at the whole child from the perspective of portfolios and teacher recommendations and leadership qualities, but just a test score. So we're hoping that that's one of the things that the state looks at, so that we can look at a more again, look at a child more in a whole picture instead of just a test score. But the National Gifted Conference Institute basically said that's one of the issues that causes this problem, because they only look at a test score in order to identify.
Yeah, I mean, just on the other side of the problem, again, another problem that's been going on for years, and we all know about, and obviously there's no simple solution, but I would be curious to find out what steps are being taken to keep the students that are, obviously that are, I'm sure steps are being taken at all times, but I'd be curious to know what those are and why, if they're not being effective, is it a question of getting to the parents right before, if they're leaving at the middle school point, is it a question of getting to them in 4th grade instead of 5th grade to try to get them ready for that transition so that they're more open to it? Or I don't know what all the issues they're coming forward with are, but that's distressing as well, and it's an ongoing problem.
I think if I can just make a quick comment about that, because it's one of the things that's exciting about having Toya with us is, you don't want to admire the problem. We understand that, and we understand that there's a trend in our enrollment. The thing that we have to do is we have to have the kind of quality programming that changes that enrollment trend. And I think that's the thing that, in addition to the identification and the assessment process and those important steps, we have to reverse the perception. And we have to offer the kind of programming that makes the case and makes the argument. And that's something that I know Toya, and working with Dr. Dixon, with the school, and identifying resources, we've increased that continuum of services. So, we have to state the case as much as do the identification piece, because we don't want to just, while the percentages make sense given some of the drops, it's not a sufficient place to be. And we understand that, and we have to make a strong case to fight that perception. So that's part of the work that we can talk about.
Thank you.
And I think the last piece to address that further is Toya has a special project that she's going to be working on this year, and that's a survey for parents on why they're leaving the school district.
And not just for gifted, but it's an exit survey, again, because the parents come to me personally, and they're very good at explaining to me why they're leaving, and they say thank you. But when I'm looking for data, like you asked, why are parents leaving, there's nothing comprehensive in the district like an exit survey to determine what type of students we have, why they're leaving, and where they're going to. So that's something that I spoke with Dr. Dixon about developing, so we have that for data for the district.
Yeah, good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so is that for the
Yes,
it for
that's
the
it.
superintendent's
Yes.
report? Okay, we're moving on to item E, personnel. I think I can take 1 through 5 plus the addendum together. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Nope. Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval? Yes. Ms. Pepler?
Yes. And now I need a motion to approve item E6.
Second.
Okay, any questions or comments, Joanne? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes. All right. Business services. First, can I have a motion to approve item F1, the recommendation to award of contract to Moody Nolan Architects?
So moved.
Second.
So this is the culmination of a pretty elaborate process where we advertise, we develop what we call a request for qualification statement. We advertise that widely. Architectural firms respond, we review those. We narrowed it down to 4 firms, and an interview team of about 15 folks came together, including the building principals. Dr. Dixon was on that. We had a wide cross-section of individuals interviewed, and at the end of that process, decided that Moody Nolan was the firm that really rose to the top during that process. And I think some of the things that stood out were their professionalism, their creativity, and their student-centered focus. Those were some of the comments and things that really rose to the top during the discussions about them. So we're very pleased to bring this recommendation to the board. We think they're going to do an outstanding job working with us on the middle school, the 2 middle school, the reconstruction of the Monticello Middle School and Roxborough Middle School. I'm happy to take any questions you have.
When do we anticipate having a schedule for the community engagement process like we did with the high school? I know it won't be as comprehensive or as tumultuous as the high school was, nor as complex, but when do we anticipate having a schedule?
We did have an initial planning meeting with Moody Nolan and their staff, and talking about expectations, talking about some things that were important to us, priorities as we look at the design, and certainly developing the project schedule is going to be the next thing that happens. Is what does that look like? When does that start? And how's that going to proceed going forward? So I expect very soon that we'll be bringing something, sharing information with the community and with the board about what that process will look like.
Anything else? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
And I need a motion to approve item F2, the change order number 14 for the Wily enabling projects.
So moved.
Second.
So this is the next change order for the Wily project, and this is a series of additions to the cost of the work that primarily surfaced or are around supporting programs and improving the functionality of the building. That was really the driving force for these. These came up, bubbled up through the various departments as we were continuing to build the building, as people began to get into the buildings and look at what was really there. These additions surfaced, and we felt that it was appropriate to include those in the project. So that's the focus of these changes.
Are these the last?
There will be one more. There will be one more.
Okay. I have a couple of high school-related questions. Should I save them till later? Or?
Yeah, the motion's still on the floor for this item. Other
I just
questions?
had one.
for
Yeah,
me?
I mean, are we still within the contingency on this? In terms of, I mean, I assume these are unexpected or
Right.
sort of unexpected costs.
Right.
That are we?
I think at this point, going, just broadly speaking, the overall hard cost budget for the Wily Enabling Project was right around $15 million. So right now, we're trending just about $2 million over that budget. And I don't know, sitting here right now, that this change can be managed within the contingency for that project. However, the overall bond issue budget that we have, we still do have contingency monies available to accommodate that. So I'm not sure how this is all going to come out in the end yet, but we will know that soon.
But without affecting what we've already agreed to in the high
That's
school
right.
or any of those.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Right.
Contrary to some information put out there by some people, we are not 100% over budget
Oh,
for
not even-
for
not
Wily.
not anywhere even
That was my
close.
favorite from a city council
Yeah.
candidate.
No.
We're 100% over
Yeah.
budget.
One of the
Not
things-
even close to
It was mentioned at the FAC meeting, and Steve didn't allude to it, is that the interest income from the bonds, we didn't allocate for anything.
Right.
And the interest income on that has now exceeded $1 million, and it'll probably, I know, I asked Mr. Gaynor, it theoretically will generate another $500,000 to $1 million before we spend it down. So as Mr. Shigalish or somebody else said at the last FAC meeting, the interest income is sort of our contingency's contingency. So the reality is that, to a degree, the overages that we're seeing on Wily, which part of it, I think, in my opinion, is attributable to the delays we saw in the bidding process, that the interest income, which was never allocated towards anything, theoretically will cover these overages. So it should have no impact whatsoever in the overall scheme of things.
Well, and I think it's important, Eric, I like the way you asked the question, because that's another thing that people are trying to put out there, is that the overages from the budget, you've just said it, right now it's approximately $2 million, and some of that will be handled through contingencies. But some people are saying that will all come out of the high school, that we won't get as good of a high school as we had budgeted for, and that's just not true.
That's correct. That's not
That's
true.
all within, its
right.
budget also,
That's right.
so. All right. Anything else on that one? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Koval.
Yes.
Ms. Pepler.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
Well, Eric, maybe we'll take your questions at the end.
Okay.
So we're moving on to item F3, the recommendation to approve the disposal of a van. Can I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
So we're just trying to keep up with our inventory, and,
Yeah.
and we've not brought these in the past.
2002 van.
Right, we've
Yeah.
not brought these to the board in the past. We were supposed to bring to them. It was an auditor issue, and so we are now bringing these so that we're officially removing things from the inventory.
You only
Okay.
got 13 years out of it?
All right, Mr. Gaynor?
Ms. Pepler.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
Mr. Koval.
Yes.
And now I need a motion to approve item F4, the disposal of 2 monitors, notebook, and docking station
So
from
moved.
the inventory.
Second.
Right.
I don't-
Same process.
Same process. Mr.
Right.
Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
Mr. Koval.
Yes.
Ms. Pepler.
Yes. And finally, for business services business, I need a motion to approve item F5, the following the donations as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions?
Very grateful donations. Very grateful
Absolutely.
for the donations, yeah. Very generous.
Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
Mr. Koval.
Yes.
Ms. Pepler.
Yes. And do you have just a quick?
Yeah, I just got a
quick
couple.
question?
We've got a field, a
It's a little
camera.
out of
that-
order, but we'll take it.
Camera at the, facing the high school for construction, and we got one on the football field. We're gonna have one on the east field where there's other construction going on?
I don't know offhand. I'd have to ask.
Only 'cause
I don't know.
Okay. The second one would be, when do we anticipate to begin pouring the foundations and start seeing some steel go up?
Yeah, yeah. Walls, not yet.
Oh, right. Oh,
Foundations,
right.
foundations, we're hoping this week. That's what I'm hearing, so. yeah.
And then, do we have any kind of timeline for having, I know we discussed previously, Gilbane was going to have banners at Goodnor and Leader Road showing
Yeah.
sort of coming soon? Do we have a?
I don't have a deadline for that.
Okay.
Hopefully by the time we meet later this week,
Okay.
I'll have a deadline for
Okay,
you.
those are my simple
Yep.
questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we're moving on to item G, finance. I think, oh, I can take them together. Okay, even 3. Okay. Can I have a motion to accept items G 1 through 3?
So moved.
Second.
I'll just mention, in addition to the monthly financial reports, you have 2 other items. Number 3 is one you've seen before, which is confirming purchase orders. They're an audit issue that must be brought to the board for approval. Number 2 is something that you have not seen before, and that is, again, a best practice and recommendation from the auditors that all student activity funds submit, and we have a standard form where they will submit a purpose statement, they submit formal activities they sponsor, and a budget of both fundraisers and expenses, and then it's signed off by the activity advisor, the principal, then the superintendent, and myself. So it's just another layer of control for student activity funds to make sure that everything is aligned with the strategic plan.
And they've got it set up now that the leftover class funds are not going to continue to carry over and create a periodic issue?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, can I, Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
All right, moving on to board president's report. My second to the last board president's report. Today's election day. I voted. I know everybody out there voted. And I guess the only thing that I would say is that I'm very excited about the fact that all 3 candidates running for the 2 seats for the Board of Education are more than qualified and positive school folks, and so I think that's a really good thing for this group and for my colleagues. That's it I don't have any long-winded report tonight. I know you'll all be thrilled. Do we have any unfinished business? Nope. New business? Okay, board committee reports.
Not yet. Next month.
My committee actually met, but I couldn't make it to that meeting.
Mine is coming.
The rec board finally met.
I've got, let's see, 3. The Alumni Foundation, they have their annual cocktail party next week on the 12th at the Wine Spot on Lee Road. So if you're interested in buying tickets in advance, I'm sure either Mr. Gaynor or Mr. Zucker would be happy to sell you tickets because they have a quota to meet. The Facilities Accountability Committee met last week, 2 weeks ago. Couple standout, I'd say 2 sort of standout items. The first one was, and it actually dovetails well with our meeting coming up at the City of Cleveland Heights, a lot of conversation back and forth in regard to the pool. So I think whereas I think the district and the literature was very specific that the swimming pool was a competition pool designed for community access. I think the concern from FAC is that the broader community expects it to be more of like a civic pool. So one of the things we need to work with, hopefully with the City of Cleveland Heights if they pass today, is really, I think, map out what our needs for the for students are going to be, and then work with the city on, okay, here are the hours that we know we're not going to be using it, and coming up with a plan. As much as we have a year and a half to 2 years to get it together, I think that there was definitely one of the key things they discussed was getting that sooner than later. So I think next week would be a good opportunity for us to begin a dialogue with the City of Cleveland Heights in regard to how can we stitch that better together than just, okay, here's 3 hours once in a blue moon, really to codify that.
Can I
Yeah.
add to that
Yeah,
a
sure.
little bit, Eric? I think the 2 other pieces to that. Number one, there is a sense among some on the FAC that the promise wasn't just as you stated it, which I agree with you that was the way that it was stated, that it is a competition pool that will have community access. There's been a group of folks and a belief that the commitment was that it would be open many hours and that decision was part of the commitment made. And we understand, I'm just elaborating on what you said, that we understand that there's an expense to that we'll have to look to share with the city and with the city of University Heights also to bring them into that conversation too, and possibly even the portion of South Euclid that's in the school district, because they paid for the facilities, and maybe we can figure out a way to extend that and have it paid for by pool passes, basically, have the usage, the operations, and lifeguards and things like that through the sale of pool passes, but that I think there's a way to bring more people into the conversation for that, and not just Cleveland
Right.
Heights, just because it's in Cleveland Heights.
Well, no, it was just that we have our meeting with them next week,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
The other item, which is something that we as a board really need to sort of discuss, is one, we have not 1 but 2 vacancies on FAC from resignations, and as memory serves, there was some material that when we move into the middle school phase, it's either, I believe we're either supposed to expand FAC or create a parallel one. I don't think there's a desire to create a second mechanism, so I think we as a board need to have a conversation on, since we have 2 vacancies we have to fill, and theoretically, let's say if you just added 2 additional seats, we have 4 vacancies we need to fill. So I think we need to have that's a pretty big chunk of seats. We probably want to do like we did before, where we have a application process and vet it like we did before, because we do have a number of seats we have to fill. And I think FAC is looking for us for direction on course of action as well. So that would be from FAC. And then I attended the first meeting for the City of Cleveland Heights on their master planning process. I was sick, and then I had the calendar wrong, so I went on Wednesday night of last week to City Hall, which was very vacant and empty because they had the meeting the night before. But they're working with the county, the material, the PDF they put together, the county's still sort of right now doing their very fact-finding situation, lay of the land, which was actually very interesting to see you hear a lot of doom and gloom about Cleveland Heights as far as trends and numbers, and the Cleveland Heights numbers are pretty much in line with the county as a whole, as far as any population decline, housing issues, what have you. It's pretty much, we are comparable to the county as a whole, which was interesting, but they're doing a real good job on the initial fact-finding. I think the next step will be where they start doing more of what's the plan going to be. But it's much more, seems like the county and the staff folks really doing the work, diving in, because they have a whole planning department. But the cities, they're well underway. I don't know what, University Heights is also in the same process, they have the same grant, but I don't know what's going on over there. So those are my 3 reports.
Just do a quick follow-up on the FAC filling the vacancies. How do we want to, I agree, we need to look into that, and I mean, we don't have to work all the details out right now, but is there a sense of of the time frame at least? I mean, is that something that should be done before, while we're still here? Should we wait till the new folks come on in January? How quickly do you get a sense?
Depends on
that we
how
need to-
controlling you are.
I'm incredibly controlling, so I think we should do this probably
Just
tonight.
My thought would be, I mean, ideally, theoretically, we have the library board in December, so it would be ideally, the only catch would be, do we feel that if we put out something, we take the old application process and we put it out, and Scott puts it out tomorrow or in a day or two, how tight do we want to have that deadline so that we could have it? I think FAC would, I believe, and Steve would, or Shigalis, I think because of the holidays and stuff coming back, they didn't know if they're going to have a meeting in
Right, in
December.
December.
So I think if we could,
Yeah,
if we
for
as a
the
board.
January meeting.
Yeah.
By the January meeting.
Yeah, it's
I
the
think-
third week.
Yeah.
Third Thursday.
So
Would it be possible to go back to the list from before? I mean, to go back through that, or should we start from
Well,
scratch?
I agree. My suggestion at the FAC meeting was maybe we can just have somebody follow up with the people who applied before and say, are you interested in being reconsidered? So they don't have to do anything again.
Yeah, not
And
another
then
form,
put a
right,
call
right.
out to additional people and have it done that way. Because I would imagine some people's lives have changed and maybe they're not.
Well, then I guess the question would be, do we want, if our intention is to fill the seats so that in January those folks would, could sit in, then when do we want to have what kind of a cutoff do we want to have back into us so that we can make a decision in December? I mean, I don't know, off the top of my head, I'm not familiar with the calendar for our meetings.
It's December 15th. Our regular meeting is December 15th.
Then if we have a deadline of the first week of
Of the
December,
first of
December, we
December.
can mull them over a week and then.
Yeah.
Works for me. Great, thank you.
So is that something that can you maybe take a look at how many I don't remember. I think we got 35 or 40 applications is my memory. And so there can't be that many, but if somebody can follow up, if not, we can split it up
do
amongst
that.
ourselves to
Okay.
follow up with those people.
Okay, I have a reader. I'll do that.
And then just have the same application sent, or the same process or form sent back out and
Okay,
put on social media and stuff.
okay,
I think that's good.
okay.
Thank you. Any correspondence and announcements? Go Tigers Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's a night game, right? Against
7 o'clock,
St. Ed's.
St.
Yes.
Ed's, Lakewood
And then we
Stadium.
also
Yeah.
have the play, Grease.
Starts
Starts
well, I
Thursday.
should have started with that because my
Yes,
daughter. I should have started with that.
Yeah, yeah. So Grease is, I think, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and
And Sunday, right?
And so the game is Saturday. And what else is going on? Is that it?
There's a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Koval.
Yes.
Ms. Pepler.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.